Hey everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to Joyful Living. Today I am finally making the video that you guys keep asking me for, and it's going to be a video about how to be successful with your money. I'm going to explain why this has been such a hard video for me to film, and I'm hopefully going to give you some advice, maybe some inspiration, and I hope a huge dose of encouragement, and I'm really glad that you're here. So, okay, why has it taken me so long to film this video? For a couple of reasons. The first one being, I realized that I live a very fortunate life. My husband has a very good job. I make a decent living as a YouTube creator and as a consultant. And we have had periods during our almost 32-year marriage where we have had dire financial circumstances. And you would not know that by looking at us now, the home we live in, the things we own, all of those kinds of things. But we've actually had quite a few years of, how do they say it, reduced circumstances. And of course, as is always true in life, you learn a lot more when you go through the hard times than you ever do when you're going through the good times. It's just kind of the way that we're wired. And I started to make this video where I was going to do, 5 tips for investing, because it all came about because I casually mentioned in a video, I believe it was a Q&A that I did, that our retirement was almost fully funded. And a bunch of you were like, how do we do that? How do we, give us your best tips and tricks and all of those things. And I could have done that video. I scripted that video. And it's actually pretty simple. Start early, and if you can't start early, start now, and leverage dollar cost averaging, invest in the market, have a good financial advisor, live beneath your means, all of the normal things. That was the video I was gonna make. But the number one thing that I wanted to share in my 5 tips is the one that I can't get past. So that's what we're going to talk about. The number one thing that I want you to take out of the conversation about your money, the number one thing that I think for so many of us keeps us from having the financial success that we could otherwise have, is shame. I don't know what it is. I don't know why we don't talk about it, but we have more shame associated with how we handle money than I think really anything else. And you'll hear it talked about a lot in popular culture in terms of body shaming and weight and those sorts of things, but we don't talk about it a lot with money. And I know that a lot of you that clicked on this video have made some financial mistakes and you are ashamed. I have made some financial mistakes, but I am no longer ashamed of those mistakes, because the big thing that Scott and I did was we forgave ourselves. Now, this was not like a one and done. It wasn't like the very first time we got into debt, which by the way was over a Thomasville kitchen table. We were eating at a card table. We did not have a kitchen table, and I was just sick of eating off of a card table. We were very, very poor when we first started out, and I put it on a credit card, and it started a kind of a snowball of debt. We got out of debt that time. Then we had unemployment. We got out of debt that time. Then we had twins that needed to go to a private school for a learning difference. And for a year, just to kind of get them up to speed with reading, they both had dyslexia, went into debt for that, got out of debt that time. Not that that was a bad thing necessarily, but we've not always made the best money choices. And over the years, with various money gurus, Dave Ramsey comes to mind, and there are others, I feel like there is this culture of shame. And like the most important thing in your life is being good with money, it isn't. And like the worst thing you can do in your life is be bad with money, it isn't. And so just like when people have shame about mistakes with dieting or exercise or overeating or undereating or whatever the case may be with our body issues, the shame actually works to shut us down and keep us from being realistic and finding a way forward so that we can get to a place where we can feel good about retirement, so that we can get to a place, if you're earlier in your journey than Scott and I are, get to a place where you can purchase your own home, where you can get out of debt, where you can pay off your student loans. And I say all this understanding that the money reality today is very different than the money reality that Scott and I walked in 30 years ago. Housing costs were not nearly what they are today, even with inflation, with percentage of income. Also, Scott and I were not saddled with huge student loans. I mean, some of y'all are going to be paying on your student loans for like 30 years. And if you allow it to, money and the shame about money and the worry about money can just seep into every single area of your life. So before I say one more word in this video, we're going to do a little exercise. I don't normally do this kind of thing. When I was a pastor, we used to do this kind of thing, and I like it. So, we're going to do it now. What I want y'all to do is I want you to close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to think about that big money mistake, or maybe those many money mistakes that you cannot forgive yourself for and that hang over your head and speak shame into your life. And I want you to forgive yourself. I want you to let it go. I want you to put it in the past. And I want you to move forward from this moment right now with realism, with truth, and with the knowledge that we are all doing the best we can with what we have in front of us. Many of us were not trained well on how to handle our money, myself included. Many of us are dealing with wages that are well below what we need in order to live the lives we want to lead. And instead of being that situation where you tell yourself you're never going to have another piece of cheesecake again, so you eat a whole cheesecake, I also don't want you to tell yourself that you're going to go on like a no-spend diet and then you end up spending $10,000 on a handbag. We are not meant as humans to live in this, place where it's always scarcity or feast. There is a middle ground. There is a way to live your life with money in a way that views it as it is, which is just a tool, and puts it in its rightful place and doesn't allow it to speak this shame and almost dishonor over your life if you have not handled it well. And I want to say something really briefly to those of you that have handled your money incredibly well. You're not so great either. Handling money well is actually not the best and highest that we could hope for ourselves. Money's important, money's a tool, but wealth does not equate being a decent human being. I have known plenty of people that are wealthy beyond belief that are not decent human beings, and I have known people who, as my mother used to say, and this is kind of gross, they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Those people who have been amazing human beings, and by the way, vice versa. I also know some very wealthy people who are wonderful human beings. Your wealth and your value are not the same thing. You can be in dire straits financially and have incredible worth, and you can be worth billions of dollars, and guess what? You also have incredible worth. When, as a society, we decided that those things, that my value as a person and my checking account were on the same level, we started having all kinds of problems. This isn't going to be a long video, and I'm probably not going to talk a lot about money again, especially not in the practicality of things, because guys, there are so many experts out there, ones that I love. Elizabeth Warren wrote books years ago about money. She's considered to be the author of the 50-30-20 rule, which is probably my favorite practical way to budget. 50% of your income goes to your rent and expenses, 20% of your income goes to savings, and 30% goes to discretionary spending. Scott and I have worked off of that budget pretty much our entire marriage when we weren't busy getting into debt and spending money we didn't have, because we did that too. I love Susie Orman. Did I already say Susie Orman? There is and all of a sudden their name has gone out of my head, but there is a couple here on YouTube that I love. I think it's called Our Big Happy Life or something like that. I'll put the link to their channel down below and also a card right here. I love Chelsea, her channel is The Financial Diet. There are gurus everywhere. And maybe because we have had so many financial struggles and kind of had this cycle of getting out of debt and then back into debt and out of debt and back into debt, I'm very hesitant to tell someone, do what we did, because it has worked out because we've had time on our side and we've had mostly regular employment and we've had some good advice along the way and things like that. But if you're not realistic because you feel so shameful about your financial decisions, to me, it is the kryptonite of you being the Superman financially in your own life and with your own money. So release the shame. Whatever mistakes you've made before today, if you are 50 years old and you haven't saved a dime for retirement, if you're 30 years old and you've gone into debt to buy Louis Vuitton handbags, all of those things are in your past and you get to start fresh today. And don't you dare let anybody on the internet make you feel shameful for how you have handled your money. I could think of a lot of things that are shameful, but those are just mistakes. And I think we can all agree that we want to be there for each other. And then one more thing, talk to people about it. We don't talk about money. We talk about a lot of things that are more personal than money. We talk about our sex lives. We talk about all kinds of things, but we don't talk about money. We all pretend like we never have any money problems, and we post on Instagram and we do shopping hauls, even when we know we're going into debt to buy those things. And I feel like if we talked about it more, and if we took the shame and the stigma out of struggling financially, honestly, we would all be a lot better off, and we would all have a better idea of what our friends and neighbors in our communities are going through. So that's it. That's all I have today. Forgive yourself, start today, be realistic, no shame. Thanks for being here today. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you'd like to support me over on Patreon, you'll see the link below. We do podcast live streams, all kinds of exclusive content, and I would love to see you over there. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you're finding joy, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.